Welcome to another Sounds of ERA podcast. My name is Edward Johnson, a.k.a. Eddie, and I'm the president of InfoEd International. I'm here today with Hilda Alajajian. She is from the University of Vermont, and she is a grants resources specialist. And she's been there for about 11 years. Hello, Hilda.
Hi, Eddie. Good to talk with you today.
When you first got there, what were you tasked with? When you applied for the job, how was it described to you what you were going to do there?
Well, my main function was and still is to help university staff, faculty, and students find sponsors for their research and scholarly projects and activities. One of the main ways that I was sort of supported in this was by funding opportunity databases. They've been great, and I've realized over the course of 11 years that they really are sort of standard tools in the academic world for identifying external sponsors for research and so forth. So
what is your makeup of University of Vermont? I know you have a pretty significant research portfolio, but you're also a university, so you have a fair amount of students. How many investigators do you have there?
We probably have over 1,000 investigators, and that would include the whole realm of lecturers, the adjunct, and the regular faculty.
I know obviously the federal funding is a significant part of any university's portfolio. Do you find that these search engines, if you will, funding databases, have helped you uncover opportunities maybe that you wouldn't have under normal circumstances?
Well, the funding databases include all of the federal agency opportunities, both the free ones as well as the subscription ones. And you're right, the federal funding sources and money is the biggest chunk of grant awards. And so the funding databases are great. And of course, compared to how people used to be able to find those opportunities, the funding databases are much faster, much more efficient, and much more comprehensive and easier to use. When I first came, my predecessor had on her shelving like 6 feet worth of the Federal Register in paper, unbelievable, that she used to use. Of course, the Federal Register then became electronic like everything else, and now with the funding databases, you pretty much don't even need the Federal Register, although you still can use it. The funding databases are awesome in that they allow you to, with one fell swoop, search not only the federal agencies, but also all of the non-federal agencies as well.
I remember looking at the FedBizOpps, right?
Yep.
And there's a ton of stuff in there, however, that doesn't really pertain to grants and that kind of sponsored projects. So without using a database that gives you the ability to filter, just even rifling through that can be hard, because you could be looking at hundreds and hundreds of things posted every day where only a small number of those actually have any relevance to what you might even be, considering applying for.
Oh, yeah. Well, the funding databases allow you to filter in all sorts of ways. So not only can you filter on the kinds of activities you want to fund, whether it's research or sabbatical support or curriculum development or equipment or whatever, you can also narrow down the results by filtering on the qualifications of the applicant. If you're a student, there's going to be less opportunities, but at least you'll be pulling in just those opportunities that are relevant for the student. If you're a postdoc, that's also a category that is sort of on its own and has specific requirements as far as eligibility goes. There's citizenship. There's also deadline dates or amounts of funding. Some people have a threshold that they have to at least have a certain amount. All of those filters allow the user to quickly narrow down the search results to those being the most relevant to what they're looking for. It's a huge time saver to be able to use funding databases.
I've had people actually ask me when I describe how they work, and they're saying, well, why don't you just use Google? And everything's available in Google. And it's hard to explain to them, and I think you just articulated it very well, that you need to be able to filter. Technically, most everything, if not everything that's in those databases, can be found on a website and might be available through Google. But the amount of hours it would take for you to even find that stuff and be able to filter it to the stuff that's relevant, it's not even practical.
Yeah, and that is a question that I actually got from a professor once. Why are using these databases better than using Google? And I hadn't even really used Google much, so I was taken sort of off guard, but you're exactly right. The other thing that comes to mind is the ability to manipulate the results. It's nice to be able to put your results in deadline date order or sponsor name order, or to filter, like you said, on various categories, or just include certain categories and exclude others.
Now, do you find that investigators are somewhat, I say not resistance, but when I talk to investigators, they're not convinced that these things work? Sometimes they're pretty adamant. They know where the money pools are. They know where they get their funding from. And in some cases, they maybe dismiss is too strong of a word. They're just not open-minded. Maybe that there could be other things out there, other opportunities that they might be able to apply for or be eligible for, at least, that they didn't know exist. I mean, do you have scenarios where you need to coax investigators to use it or convince them that there might be things they're not aware of?
Oh, you are so right on target there. I found early on when I was trying to promote the databases that it was like pulling teeth. I didn't really get much bang for the buck for all the effort I put into promotion. I got very little response, and finally through the years I've realized that the best way is just to sit here and let them come to me, and when they need it, they're going to come.
Well, thanks again. This has been fantastic, Hilda. I hope you're willing to do another one of these if time permits, or there's things that are topical. So thanks again. This is fantastic.
All right, Eddie. Thanks for asking.